In the annals of human history, few events have been as cataclysmic, as transformative, and as deadly as World War I. This war, often referred to as the Great War or the war to end all wars, was a global conflict like no other. It spanned 4 long, grueling years from 1914 to 1918 and involved a staggering number of nations. The sheer scale of the war was unprecedented, with over 30 countries from every corner of the globe entangled in the deadly web of alliances and rivalries. It was a war that changed the very fabric of society, politics, and technology. The consequences of this brutal conflict were far-reaching and profound, forever altering the course of human civilization. More than anything, it was a war that exacted a devastating toll on human lives. An estimated 9 million soldiers and 7 million civilians perished, a testament to the destructive power of modern warfare. But what led to such a colossal clash of nations and ideals? The causes of World War I are complex and multifaceted, but the spark that ignited the powder keg of tensions was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. His death on June 28, 1914, in the city of Sarajevo is widely recognized as the event that set the wheels of war in motion. A potent mix of nationalism, militarism, and a tangled web of alliances turned this single act of political violence into a full-blown global conflict. The assassination of Archduke Ferdinand is a stark reminder of how a single event can trigger a cascade of consequences. For it wasn't just a man that was killed that day in Sarajevo, but the fragile peace that had held the world together. It was the first domino to fall in a series of events that would plunge the world into the depths of war. With the spark ignited in Sarajevo, the world was plunged into a war unlike any seen before. World War I was a complex web of alliances, a deadly dance of power politics that spanned continents. The war's early days saw the formation of 2 primary alliances, the Central Powers and the Allied Powers. The Central Powers, a coalition led by Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, represented a formidable force. They were bound by mutual defense pacts, and their shared goal was to consolidate their power and expand their territories. Parallel to these developments, the Allied Powers came into existence. Initially, this alliance consisted of the United Kingdom, France, and Russia. Later, it expanded to include Italy, Japan, and ultimately the United States. The Allies, with their diverse cultures and vast resources, were united by a common purpose: to halt the Central Powers' aggressive expansion and preserve their own sovereignty. Now let's journey to the war's main stages: the Western Front and the Eastern Front. The Western Front, a stretch of land cutting through Belgium and France, became a nightmarish landscape of trenches and barbed wire. Here, the Central Powers and the Allies engaged in a brutal and bloody deadlock, each side unable to gain a decisive advantage over the other. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, the war was more fluid. It was a vast expanse stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, where the Central Powers clashed with Russia. Battles here were characterized by sweeping movements and dramatic shifts in power. In the south, the Ottoman Empire faced off against several fronts, the most notable being the Gallipoli campaign, where the Allies sought to secure a sea route to Russia. As these alliances clashed on multiple fronts, the world watched in horror and anticipation. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen was about to unfold in all its catastrophic glory. The war introduced the world to the horrors of trench warfare and the deadly efficiency of modern technology. Trench warfare, a new and terrifying form of battle, emerged on the Western Front. Soldiers lived in a network of trenches, dug deep into the earth, offering some protection from enemy fire. But life in these trenches was far from idyllic. Muddy, cold, and infested with rats and lice, these trenches were also the front line in a war of attrition, where inches of land were won at the cost of thousands of lives. In this grim landscape, the concept of no man's land was born. A desolate expanse pockmarked by shell craters and devoid of life, it served as a buffer between opposing trenches. To cross it was to court death, as it was swept by machine gun fire and shelling. Gas, a weapon that would later be banned by international law, was used extensively. Chlorine, mustard gas, these were the unseen killers that crept into the trenches, causing unimaginable suffering and death. But the First World War wasn't just about trenches and gas. It was a crucible of technological innovation. Tanks, hulking beasts of steel, made their debut on the battlefield, capable of traversing the treacherous terrain of no man's land. Machine guns, once a novelty, became a devastating tool of war, capable of mowing down rows of soldiers in mere seconds. And then came the aircraft. Initially used for reconnaissance, they soon evolved into deadly weapons. Fighter planes engaged in thrilling dogfights in the sky, while bombers delivered destruction from above, a harbinger of the aerial warfare that would dominate future conflicts. This war, this terrible conflict, was a turning point. It showed us the grim reality of modern warfare, where technology could make killing more efficient, more impersonal. It was a stark reminder of the human cost of progress. In the trenches and in the skies, the face of warfare was changed forever. When the guns finally fell silent, the world was left to count the cost and to grapple with the profound changes wrought by the war. A staggering 16 million lives were lost, and an even greater number were forever changed by the horrors they'd witnessed and the wounds they'd sustained. The aftermath of the war was characterized by a desire for peace and a desperate attempt to prevent such a catastrophic event from ever happening again. This led to the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, a peace agreement that intended to establish a new world order. However, it was a treaty marred by controversy. Many of the defeated nations, particularly Germany, felt the terms were harsh and punitive, planting seeds of resentment that would later bear bitter fruit. Geographically, the world was redrawn, empires crumbled, new nations were born, and borders were reshaped. The map of Europe, in particular, underwent considerable alterations. The Russian, Ottoman, German, and Austro-Hungarian empires were no more, replaced by a patchwork quilt of new states. Beyond the physical and political changes, the war had a profound impact on society and politics. It acted as a catalyst for the rise of ideologies that would shape the 20th century. Communism took hold in Russia, leading to the formation of the Soviet Union. In Italy and Germany, the seeds of fascism began to sprout, fueled by economic hardship and national humiliation. The war also brought about significant social changes. Women, having taken on roles traditionally held by men during the war, began to demand greater rights. This led to a wave of feminism and the eventual granting of suffrage in many countries. World War I, the war to end all wars, instead sowed the seeds for future conflicts, and its echoes can still be heard today. This monumental event left an indelible mark on human history, a mark that continues to shape our world in ways both seen and unseen.